We keep hearing the news about the opioid crisis. 200,000 people have died of overdoses in the last 2 decades. In fact, in the last 12 months of 2021, over 100,000 people died from opioid overdoses. It's an epidemic. You may have read about the case in the news this week against a couple of counties in Ohio against CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. It's like a $800 and some million lawsuit for making prescription drugs too available to people and creating what is called a public nuisance. People's lives are being destroyed by that. Now, there's a lot of reasons why. Some people go in for pain, they take the opioid, and they get addicted, and it's ruined their lives. And I wonder how much is related to what's been called the age of anxiety. How much of this addiction to prescription drugs is because people have a lot of stuff going on inside of them. They have fears, they have anxieties, they have despair, they have frustration, anger, hurt. And they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. So they go to outer things like drugs, alcohol, other kinds of things to get their minds out of themselves. It's a big problem. And that's why today I think it's so important that we discuss, how do you handle anxiety? What do you do when something happens in your life and you react with emotion that seems out of proportion for what's going on? So that's why we're talking today on 5 steps for diffusing anxiety. Step number 1 is to recognize and realize that all situations are essentially neutral. That's right. This is a very important idea. The great sage William Shakespeare said, "Nothing is good or bad, only thinking makes it so." Only thinking makes it so. Now, this is a hard message for a lot of us to hear and to accept. Why? Because we're so used to reacting. We're so used to saying, "Oh, that's too bad," or "That's a terrible situation," or "This is not good," or "That's a sad thing," or "a sad situation." We're so used to projecting our judgments, our meaning, our emotion onto situations. We hear people say things like, "He pushed my buttons," or "Boy, she really rang my bell." Well, what does all that mean? We're saying that outer things are making us feel how we feel. And what does that do? That makes us a victim, because we can't control all the stuff that goes on outside of us. And what we're saying here, step number 1, is that's not really what's going on. I mean, and this is a tough teaching, but it's the reality, and it's the key to our freedom. It's to recognize that whatever happens in the world is essentially neutral. It's not good, it's not bad, it simply is what it is. It is. And how it affects us has everything to do with how we think about it, what our thoughts are about it. And this is very important to get in mind. Now, if William Shakespeare isn't enough authority, we can draw from an Eastern teacher, a great enlightened being, Swami Sri Yukteswar, who is the teacher, the guru of the great sage Yogananda. And he said essentially the same thing. Everything is neutral. It's true in Western thinking too. Napoleon Hill, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, said essentially everything that happens, you can find the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit in it. So who are we to judge? What's good, what's bad? Everything is essentially neutral. And that's a foundation principle to start with. You see, I'm going to give you these steps to help you deal with specific situations that occur in your life. It can be applied to many of them. But essentially, all anxiety has to do with our thinking. Our thinking, not what happens. Now you say, well, if that's true, that's a tough one. It is tough. But you know what? There are spiritual practices that are tough, like spending time in meditation every day. That's not easy. Going on a silent retreat, a 10-day silent retreat where you're meditating several hours every day. That's not easy. Anything that's worthwhile takes time, energy, determination, persistence, strength, and so on. Well, when we understand that it's not the situation that makes us upset, makes us anxious, it's how we think about it. When we recognize that we have a lot of opportunities to grow spiritually, don't we? There are a lot of situations that can push our buttons, which means we have buttons to push, that can ring our bells, which means we have bells to ring. And so it's important to first recognize that. But you could tie anxiety to one of two things. One is the fear that something's going to happen that we don't want to happen. Oh, what if I can't find a job? Oh, what if something bad happens? What if I can't pay the bills? What if she doesn't like me? You know, just name it. There's so many things. It's a thought about something happening that we don't want to happen. And the other thought is, that causes a lot of anxiety, is wanting something to happen that's not currently happening. You know, I hope I get that offer. I hope she'll want to go out with me. I hope whatever. I hope I get that role. Now there's anxiety about, well, what if you don't get it? What if it doesn't happen? See? So all situations are essentially neutral, but we have developed a habit of reacting and making ourselves afraid, making ourselves anxious. And so we want to shift that habit, which is why we got these 5 steps. Step number 1, things are essentially neutral. Step number 2 is to evaluate the situation objectively that has rung your bell, that's pushed your button. What is it that's occurred or occurring that you know you are responding over the top? You are really anxious. You are really afraid. You are really angry. You are really worried. You're really hurt. Whatever it is, realize that it's you. You're reacting, like step number 1, and that you can begin to change how you're feeling by first evaluating the situation objectively. So let me give you an example. Lisa is called into her, at 5 o'clock, she's called into her boss's office, and she's laid off. She is so in shock. She's been there 6 years. She's always gotten good reviews. She's in shock. She can't even hear the boss barely tell her why she's being let go. So when she's going home, she's thinking, oh my God, what did I do wrong? She's a CPA. She's been there 6 years. She's always gotten good evaluations and reviews. She's gotten raises showing that she's doing a good job. In fact, just a few months ago, she was told, you're a great team player, your goals and direction, you're in tune with the company. So she can't figure out what happened. So she realizes it can't be me. So then she starts getting angry at her boss. Why is he firing me? This is not fair. This is not fair. So all this is going on in her mind, and she gets home and she just throws herself on the bed and she's just going over in her mind, what happened? What did I do? And then she starts walking around her living room in the dark, asking, now what am I going to do? What am I going to do now? How am I going to get a job? Nobody's going to want me after this. So she's agonizing with this, right? She's reacting. She's over the top with her emotion. So she realizes she needs to evaluate this objectively. She needs to think about the situation. And as she thinks about it, she realizes that it's not personal, that it can't be her because she has done such a good job for 6 years and she's gotten all this positive feedback. It can't be her. And she doesn't think the boss is doing it. She knows that there have been layoffs, and there are going to be more layoffs because of the economy. The company has been struggling. So she evaluates it objectively. Now, psychologists sometimes recommend that you ask, who owns the problem? Who owns this problem? And as she evaluates it objectively, she realizes, I'm not the problem. I'm not the problem. It's not my boss. I know he's struggling with the economy and the company. They're just doing what they need to do. And so what is the problem? The problem is it's the economy. It's not personal. Nobody owns this problem. You see, that's very important because that helps you to look at it objectively. And now, if she were part of the problem, if Lisa had not done the best she could, if she had done something dishonest, or if she wasn't competent, then she could be concerned about, all right, I need to up my game, I need to learn my lessons, I need to learn from this situation, I need to do better next time in the next situation and make the best of it. But in this case, she's not the problem. The problem is, as the saying goes, she found herself on a bridge when the lightning struck. It's not personal. She just happened to be in the bridge. She just happened to be in this situation that she's in. So she analyzed it objectively. That's step number 2. Look at your situation. Or let me ask you, are there any situations in your life that push your buttons, that really get you upset? Maybe it's your boss. Maybe your boss has a temper. Or maybe it's speaking in public. Maybe it's talking one-on-one with someone. Maybe it's looking for a job. Maybe it's going out on a date. I don't know what it is, but you can put it in perspective by recognizing it's not making you feel a certain way, step number 1. Step number 2, look at it objectively. Who owns the problem? And then third, adjust your emotions to the situation. Adjust your emotions to the situation. Now, in order to do that, you've got to be able to relax, right? You can't adjust your emotions if you're uptight and tense. You got to be able to relax, which means being able to do some deep relaxation. For those of you who take yoga, do some savasana, relaxing each muscle of your body, taking some long, deep breaths, maybe doing some meditation, something to get yourself to relax. I mean, the essence of spiritual growth for me is recognizing that whenever thoughts and emotions, being present to your thoughts and emotions is a huge part of spiritual growth, without letting them take you over, but to just relax around them. Have you ever noticed emotions flow in and then they flow out if you don't resist them? If you don't hang on to them, if you don't get caught up in it. See, Lisa at first got caught up in, what am I going to do? Oh, what have I done? I must have done something wrong. What am I going to do? And it's not fair and all. She got all involved in it. Well, looking at it objectively helped her start to put it in perspective. But then you just want to kind of relax around it. Just let those thoughts be there, let the emotions be there, and just relax, relax, relax. Let it flow through you. Okay, that's the primo method. Okay, that's the deepest, most profound way of dealing with thoughts and emotions. It's to recognize that you're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, you're not your body. You are the consciousness that lives in that body. You see, truthfully, you're not anxious. You're not anxious. You are pure consciousness. Consciousness doesn't get anxious. You are simply aware of your thoughts and your emotions, of anxiety, but those aren't you. You understand? You can't be anxious. You are a spiritual being. You are consciousness. There's no anxiety in you. Your consciousness, which is on a higher vibration than anxiety, is looking at your thoughts. It's looking at your emotions of anxiety. That's a very important thing to understand. Because when you realize that, now you can relax around what's happening inside of you. Now you can notice the emotions, notice the feelings, and you go, relax, relax, relax. Relax your body, relax your mind, and stay in that place of observing. And then you'll find it move out of you. See? Now, if you want to try another technique, there's a lot of techniques in the world. You can talk to yourself. Lisa got in the bathtub, put on some nice hot water, some, who knows, music, and she did some deep breathing, and then she started to talk to herself. Things like, it's not your fault, Lisa. You know, you've gotten good reviews the last 6 years. You've gotten great raises. It's not your boss. Your boss has nothing but appreciation for you. It's the economy. It's the situation. And the company's just trying to deal with what's happening. And you're going to, you know, you'll do well. You'll find another job. If you're a spiritual person, you're going to be thinking things like God is in charge. One door closes, another one opens. Everything works together for good in my life because Spirit's in charge. You know, you talk to yourself. You've evaluated the situation, and now you soothe your emotions. You get your emotions in alignment with what's real. So Lisa went from feeling bad about herself, being shocked, from feeling despair and deep hurt, to now, well, she was disappointed. She was disillusioned by the company, by what was going on. That was a very different experience than what she started with, because she adjusted her emotions to the situation. You can do the same. Relax, relax, observe what you're feeling, let it move through you. If you want to, talk to yourself. Talk the truth to yourself. Tell yourself what's true. See, that's step number 3, adjusting your emotions to the situation. And then step number 4 is taking action. Taking action. Act rather than react. Act rather than react. Some people, they just stew in their juices. They just talk about the problem, they think about the problem, they worry about the problem. And as the old saying is, that worry, anxiety, is like sitting in a rocking chair. You expend a lot of energy, but you don't go anywhere. We don't want to do that. See, when you stew in your juices of anxiety, you feel like a victim, right? You're not getting anywhere. You feel out of control. We don't want to feel out of control. Psychologists tell us that feeling in control is very important to our happiness level. It's very important for us to feel in control. So when you start to take action, you start to feel in control. You start to move. That's one of the greatest antidotes to anxiety, is to take action. And so what did Lisa do? She called up a friend who was a public relations person in the company, and the friend told her, oh yeah, you too? My gosh, layoffs are happening company-wide. In fact, I'm worried about my own self. You know, she called a friend to get some support, some comfort. And then she called someone else she knew who had gotten a job. She wanted to see how he got the job, who his contact was that helped him get the job. She wrote down a plan. She wrote down to upgrade her resume. You know, she had a plan, and she started to move forward with that plan, and that helped her to feel more in control, to take some action. I've said it before, God can't steer a parked car. You got to get the wheels in motion so Spirit can guide you and direct you. Now, sometimes, you know, the plan is you're going to wait until Tuesday to think something through or whatever. That might be part of the plan. The plan might be, let me get still and quiet and relax and get tuned into inner wisdom and guidance and then take these actions. But take action. Step number 4. So, what have we said? Step number 1, the situation's not causing us to feel anxious or out of control. It's not the situation. It's our thoughts about the situation. See, all things are neutral essentially. They're not good or bad. Only thinking makes it so. That's a very important idea. Secondly, because that puts us in control. Secondly, is to evaluate objectively. Who owns the problem? And then third, adjust your emotions to the situation. Adjust your emotions so that you can get more centered and peaceful and calm and put things in greater perspective. Then take action. And then lastly, the 5th step for diffusing your anxiety is to trust and be grateful. I snuck grateful in there, didn't I? Trust and be grateful. Essentially, you're trusting God. You're trusting the universe. You're doing the best that you can. You're starting to take some action. You're trusting Spirit to guide you and direct you in the right way to go. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to sit in our chair and fold our hands and wait. No, you might be very busy. Your job now is to get the job, for instance, if that were the case. But whatever your situation is, trusting that you're being guided. Might help to verbally express that, to say, universe, I'm trusting. Or Father, I'm trusting. Spirit, I'm trusting. Divine Mother, I'm trusting. However you want to voice it, reminding yourself that you're trusting. Another way of saying it is you're surrendering. You're surrendering to this reality that's guiding and directing your life. Father, I'm trusting. Spirit, I'm trusting. Say that within yourself. What would your words be? How would you phrase that in your own words? You can repeat that to yourself during the day like a mantra, like a sacred words reminding you to trust, and to be grateful. To be grateful is what? It's to recognize the good that's in your life right now. In fact, you could take it deeper and say, to recognize and be grateful for your life itself. Really. We're on the only planet where things are happening. Everywhere else, there's nothing happening. You're alive, you've got life in front of you, there's lots of stuff happening, lots of stuff going on. You can literally make yourself look at your life as a great adventure, whatever the challenge is that you're facing. You can look at it and go, gee, because I'm alive, I have this opportunity. Because I'm alive, I have this experience. And certainly it's not the only thing going on in your life. There's a lot going on around you. And so practicing gratitude, being grateful for the blessings in your life, being grateful for just being alive where there's stuff happening. Things are happening. Yeah, there's lots going on. It's an adventure. It's a cosmic movie. And through trusting, you know that everything is working together for good in my life because God is in charge. You can affirm that for yourself. Remind yourself of that. Everything is working together for good in my life because God is in charge. The universe is in charge. And then expect it, trust it, and be grateful for life. Be grateful for being here. Be grateful. Remind yourself throughout the day what you're grateful for, because you can't be grateful and worried and fearful at the same time. It just doesn't happen. You can only think one thought at a time. If your mind is focused on gratitude, if your mind is focused in trust, you can't be thinking about anything else that's making you worried and upset. I know this may sound very oversimplified. I'm not saying it's not challenging to do this. It is challenging to do this, especially when you're surrounded with people who are complaining and worrying and all the other stuff going on, people who influence us. But you can do it. You can do it. You are not your mind, you're not your body, you're not your emotions, you're a spiritual being. You can do it. You can have faith and trust that God is in charge and all is well. Spirit is in charge and all is well. And I guarantee you practice those 5 steps, you're going to diffuse your anxiety and you're going to enjoy your life more. Let's get still for a moment. We thank you, Father, Mother God, for your truth, your wisdom, your guidance. We know it's not easy to practice, but hey, that's because we've been conditioned to do otherwise. We've created habits of reacting in our life. And Spirit, we know that with your help, you can help us to choose our response. You can help us to make a new habit of applying these 5 steps for any challenges that push our buttons. Thank you for guiding us and helping us make this a new habit, a new way of responding to life, a new way of responding to the challenges that we face. And we know that in doing this, we're going to grow closer to you. We're going to recognize in a greater sense more peace, more joy, more love, and more appreciation. Thank you, Father, Mother God, and so it is. Amen. I want to thank our musicians for being with us today. Daniel Namod, and also, for the first time with us today, Michelle Prentice. Thank you both so much for your inspiration through your music. And I want to thank those of you who are in the space with us today. Reminder, join us in the Sangha space for snacks and all that. Thank you to those of you online. And remember, save the date, September 29th. We got a wonderful retreat in a beautiful location. So check your calendar out. Save the date. It's going to be a lot of fun and it's going to be inspiring. So thank you for being with us today. Please join me in the prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Yea, God, and yea, you as an expression of God. God bless you. Namaste, and we'll see you again soon.